Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. I'm excited to be here with Jason Janas. We talked a while back, and I wanted to continue a conversation with him because I'm so amazed that your experience, Jason, happened in 2020. So you have had less than, 5 years, under 5 years to really integrate this. And we're in 2024 right now, and you are getting so many downloads, so many healings, so much is changing in your life from this time. And I'm amazed that you are such a light and a force and able to talk about all of this. So we were having fun before this began. So I just want to jump right in and welcome you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And I felt your energy when, when we talked that first time. I was like, I think Trisha and I could have a very good conversation, a deep conversation that could really heal a lot of people. And I was like, when the time is right, we'll make it happen. And here we are. And I'm honored and I'm blessed to be here. Thank you.
Well, we share a lot of experiences as Gen Xers. We were talking about being latchkey kids and suffering that kind of abuse that was common in our generation of neglect and beatings and really beating these innocent little children who came in with so much love. I had this regression once, and I saw my soul coming in as this big light that really overwhelmed my parents. And part of my experience, I think, is similar to yours. I'm sure there was this shame or unworthiness that your parents probably felt around having you as a kid. Like I think sometimes we don't, and that's the forgiveness, I think.
You have to start, one thing that I've learned after my NDE, as I was, you know, depressed, very depressed. I was like, how could I have been there and now put back into this horrific, that's the way my mind was going, experience that I'm in. And we have to look at our experience as, our salvation. What we're going through is our tough time. And this was mine. I had to really step back and look at it. And that's where I found forgiveness. And it's good to forgive others. That's great. But if you cannot forgive yourself, okay, if you cannot forgive yourself, in my case, for allowing myself to live in such shame and horror and feeling unworthy my whole life when I was just shown how worthy I was of everything. That forgiveness had to begin with myself. And when I was kind of, I know this sounds weird to everybody, but I was kind of yelling at my father, God. I was like, you picked the wrong person, pal. Okay, you picked the wrong person. And I was like, you should have picked the Pope. And this is the first time I heard my father's voice. And I was in my bedroom and I was crying. And I said that again. I said, you picked the wrong person. And it was as clear as day. His voice was, why not? You are my son. And I was like, he's listening to me again. And I dropped to my knees at the end of my bed. And to this day, I still have no idea why I said it, but it's the truth. When I opened up my arms and I said, for all that I am you. And I am a beautiful little boy. And I felt the weight of the world get lifted right out of me. It was ripped right out of me. And I had to forgive myself. And that was the first step in the road and the journey that I'm on. Is I've had a hard life, a difficult life. And it's because I was an empath. I didn't realize it at the moment. My daughter had sent me a picture of me as a little boy. And I was like, yeah, all of those feelings came back in. I was back in the 70s, it was 1974, and I'm feeling all of this emotion. And, when they're angry, I could feel the anger and the love. And, it was just so much. And I felt so unworthy because of the beatings, because of the abuse. And I carried that through my whole life. So if I'm carrying all that negative energy, if I'm unworthy of money, am I going to have money? Nope. Am I unworthy? If I say I'm unworthy of being loved, am I going to be loved in a relationship? Nope. So it's all about our energy. If we produce negative energy, it's going to go out into the genie in the bottle, which is the non-physical home, right? Excuse me. And you're going to say, it's going to mix with all that other negative energy and it's going to come back to you. And then your next response is, why does this shit keep happening to me? That's what you keep putting out. It was a hard lesson to learn. It took me a few years to really understand the depth of how powerful our thoughts are, unspoken or spoken. They will come back to you. So if you're sitting at home and you're just cussing away and this life sucks, well, that's what's going to come back to you. Love. And love unconditionally. If you're stuck in a situation, embrace that situation. Look at it. It's your salvation. Look at it, forgive it, love it, and
And
then let it go.
and the opposite is true though too, which is kind of interesting that, we're looking at when you're focusing on things that are working, that are right, that are beautiful, you start to see light and beauty in the midst of what other people may be seeing as horror, what other people
Right.
may be seeing as very negative, that you start interacting with the matrix differently. I'm calling it the matrix for lack of a better term, but you start interacting with the world around you in a way that pulls the positive out of people because you are leading with that loving energy. So this
Right.
are really powerful realizations in a short amount of time. Like I can't believe that you're talking this openly and this soon after your near death experience. What helped you with the integration? Do you think that was part of what you were given at this time?
Um,
Or do you think it's the openness of the world in general at this time?
I had to find out what happened to me. I had no idea. I believed in the Bible, and this is where I got very, very angry. I believed in the Bible. I believed what my grandparents were telling me, that the Bible is God's written word. It's his very breath. Heaven and hell, good and bad, right and wrong. It's all there. It's God. And I didn't get that from my upbringing from my parents. I got it from my grandparents, who were very, especially my grandmother. So I believed in it. Went to Catholic school, CCD. I went to all of it, and I firmly believed in it. But then I had those early experiences with the same sex, and I knew I was doomed. There's no. It says it right here. You're an abomination to your father. You are going to burn in hell. I was like, I'm screwed. I'm And then I just gave up, basically, which, the non physical is horrified by that, because they don't, it's wrong to think that way, because that's not true. And they can't come down here. It's our life. It's what we came here to do, to find the truth, to find out who we are, to find out and to become that love, to become that light, and to become that, not just for yourself, but for, you know, everybody else. And when I use everybody else, I don't like using that, because when I'm talking to you, I'm just talking, I'm projecting myself as a female in a different place. So I'm talking to myself. When I look out there, this has made it easy for me. I am projecting 8 billion different versions of myself out there. And I call it, as you said, the matrix, the universe, the illusion. So when I realized that, I was like, this is easy. Okay. But I still had to do the research and find out what happened. What was that? And then I came across the term NDE, near death experiences. And then I started to listen to them. And, of course, I'm crying and sobbing, because they're talking about all the things that happened to me. So I didn't feel nuts, like I was lost my mind in cuckoo land, that I was with my father. I was in a completely different realm. I was with Jesus. I was home. I said it. I'm home. How could I know I'm home if I've never been there before? So it was like a journey of, I'm going to uncover, the lies and the mistruths that Catholicism, and I will say it, I don't have a problem with anymore, that Christianity has laid out a horrific lie, a horrific, mean lie to keep people living in fear. And I find that an abomination, and I will not stand for it. So I began to absorb everything I could, and to become the teacher that I was supposed to be as a little boy. So
There's
here I am at.
there's a couple of things I want to say. I think with my research brain and my scientific brain throughout, young adulthood showed me, one, that the Kinsey report said that most of us are bisexual. Only a few people, are programmed to be completely heterosexual, and so when looking at the Kinsey report, everyone, I always thought in the back of my mind, is a little bit bisexual. And why would God create us the way we are created, to just shame us? I don't think that's society. That's not God.
That's right.
God is loving. And
And we are not to judge, because we are not judged. And when I ask people this, and they get so mad, and I said to this woman, I said, you have no clue who God is. And she got offended. And is like, and I said, tell me who God is. Tell me who your father is. And then it goes quiet, and then it was, well, no, I said, that's what you've been taught. Tell me who God is. I know. So please tell me who he is, and he couldn't. I said, it's because you think God is human, because you are expecting punishment or judgment from a divine being you at this point in time cannot remember. I said, you've met him. You're older than the known universe, which was created 4.8 billion years ago. So you're older than that. So please tell me who God is. Do you believe in Santa Claus? No. Why? Your mom told you Santa was real. You told your kids Santa was real. So, and she couldn't. And I said, that's because you don't know who God is. 90% of people out there do not know who God is. They're expecting judgment. They're expecting suffering. They're expecting retribution of some sort because this happened to me. And you don't know who God is. Your Father is love, unconditional, on a level you have no clue about. He is light and he is energy. We are the exact same thing as our Father.
What did you feel? And I think we will go into your near-death experience here, but what did you, and tell me when you tell your experience, what you felt God healing there, like in your experience, because I love that part.
So we're going to go back to April of 2020. We had a big powwow, at this job that I was working at, still now this is the old Jason, right? Ego's in full force, because we all handed the reins to the ego millennia ago. And now we're crying about why our lives are terrible. But anyway, I digress. So back into the ego of Jason and all this, have this big powwow and, the male, because I'm a boy, I'm a male, I bang it, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm almost 50 years old. Nothing's going to kill me. What do you, shut up. I come home that night, sit in this very spot on this couch, watching TV. And all of a sudden, I go, I was like, God, that was terrible, and I go to take another bite of my sandwich and blood just flow. I'm not, my sandwich is bright red blood. We're not like when you cut your finger, it's dark red. You see it? No, this was bright, like your chair back there, bright red. And I was like, and I tried to take a breath. I couldn't breathe. And all of a sudden I cough again. Now my plate is full of blood, just bright red. And I get up and I grab my phone here and I'm like, I'm coughing. And now I'm going, I can't breathe, and I'm like, ooh, panic starts to set in. So I grabbed to the kitchen. I'm constantly throwing up this blood, trying to FaceTime my ex-wife. And she's a nurse, she's an RN. And it's the only thing that popped into my head, Stephanie. So I go, and finally she answers. She's like, what do you want? And I try to say something, blood. That's all I remember. I remember waking up in the hospital, the ICU, or from what I was told. Hands were strapped to the bed, feet strapped to the bed, neck, IV in the neck, right in my carotid artery there, tube, stuff in the nose, everything you would see somebody being kept alive on a ventilator. That was me. But from the moment I awoke, so when I got home, it was light out. But when I woke up, what day it was, I have no idea. But it was dark out and myriad of doctors in my face. I'm trying, I can't move, horrific pain. And off to the left, in the upper left, immediately I tried to park the sea of people and doctors to see who was standing there up in the corner. But there was an undeniable presence of, I know it now, it was home. I was being pulled or drawn to it. I just wanted to be there. I didn't know who it was because I couldn't see it, but it was just an undeniable feeling. You're breathing air, just you're breathing. It was just like that. And the entire time I'm in the ICU, that was there. Never faltered, moved, wavered, nothing. It was just there. So I get healthy, right? Take me off the ventilator, wake up, everything, very lethargic, lost 70 pounds, couldn't talk, being intubated. My mouth hurt from having your mouth open for a month. My jaw was I was just in an incredible amount of pain. Um, and now, mind you, as I tell this to people, as I grew up Catholic, okay, I grew up a Christian, went to CCD, Catholic school, Christian school for a couple of years, firmly believed in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to all to understand this. I grew up a Christian, I grew up Catholic, believed the Bible was God's written word, his very breath, believed it. Now my world is about to change. So when I was a little boy being abused, you think, well, God clearly does not care about me. He hates me, and I'm doomed from my experience that I had sexually. So I quit having a relationship with him. I was about 7 or 8. So this is 1977, 78. No more. My grandmother woke me up to go to church. I kicked her. I sat up. I said, no, no, I'll do it myself. God doesn't care. He hates me clearly. And, my grandmother was everything to me. She saved me from the beating. She taught me how to cook clean. So for me to do that was a significant, a significant change in me. And it was, I had snapped. I had finally broken, basically, and, she went to church. I stayed in bed. I slept. And I had a rough life. I chose negativity. I chose hate. I chose anger, are much lower vibrations. I didn't know it at the time, And at the time I was a little boy. I just found this out now, this week, as a matter of fact. My daughter had sent me in a picture of me as a little boy in 1974, and I instantly started to cry. So how did you get this? And being an empath now, I can understand. And then all of a sudden, I felt my little childhood empathy of being an empath. And I'm like, oh my God, I was an empath as a little boy. That's why I was such an emotional little boy. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to, all the things that boys were doing, hurting and throwing. And I didn't want to do any. I just wanted to make people laugh and hug each other. And back in the 70s, as a boy, no, 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 that wasn't accepted, So, I was bullied. I was shy. I was, taken advantage of. I didn't know what was going on. Just this little sensitive little 4-year-old boy was struggling through life because I came from a family of alcoholics, beatings. There wasn't, the only nurturing and loving really came from my grandparents. And when I was there, all I felt was love. So I felt at home. I felt where I needed to be. I felt loved, and I gave love, and I couldn't put two and two together until earlier in the week, this week. So I had a very rough life. I just had a very rough life. I felt unworthy. I felt, unworthy of love, unworthy of money, unworthy of having a beautiful dream of a beautiful life. And instead, I created hell. I created a very rough, scarce, painful life. And that wasn't the non-physical doing that to me or home. That was me creating I'm the creator of this world, of this universe. You're the creator of this world in your personal universe. So I created a life of scarcity, of punishment, of hell, and it was like, I finally healed it this week. And I was like, you know, your pain, your suffering is your salvation. Look into it. Okay. If you don't heal that, I don't care if it's 80 years old and you're 90, on your bed. If you don't heal that wound, you're going to come back into your next incarnation and have to deal with that. And I realized that. And I was like, I had to go into my childhood and forgive myself for feeling unwanted and unloved because I was an empath. I didn't know I was. But now that I knew I was like, you are a beautiful boy. You are loved. And it all came full circle. And I was like, I had a spiritual experience here this week, and I'll talk briefly on it. It was like when I healed that wound, when I stepped back I had to step back into the little boy that I was in 1974. And I had to realize that I was an empath, that I asked to come as an empath so I could teach, heal, and love and be the being that I have been on this earth for thousands of years. So I healed that wound. And then all of a sudden, as I've been manifesting, meaning I've been learning how to meditate and say, when I look at this life, I say, I'm done with this.
So I have a quick question. My question,
Yeah,
did you just accept that love from God as healing? And then two, I hear a lot of things about manifestation that I question, and I'm trying to make it simple for people. I think it's having that mustard seed of faith and also feeling worthy and not overthinking it, not trying to tweak every
no,
little thing about it, how it's going to come into your world, just going, God, I want to be of service and I want to live a life of abundance in this way. Help me. And then stepping into it, taking all those painful steps that you have to take, to get there.
that's it. It's the work. You have to do the work. Home or the non-physical is the genie in the bottle, ladies and gentlemen. You want $1 million, they'll give it to you. But if you don't, you don't have to go into over graphics. Just say, I want a life of abundance, which I never did. I never said that. So, as I'm putting that out there into abundance, you have to do the work. You can't just say it and then walk away and expect it to no, ladies and gentlemen. You came into this physical existence to work. I mean, when you ask for that, you have to free your mind. You have to get rid of the negativity. You have to get rid of the harmful thoughts. I'm not worthy of. Well, you've just defeated everything you tried to do. If you feel that way, then that abundance isn't going to come because you feel unworthy. You have to free your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Your mind is your worst enemy. Okay, that's the ego. The ego will tell you you're not worthy, and you'll believe it. Why? Because it's happened to you your whole life. You have to change your thoughts into positivity for that abundance to happen. You
Yeah.
have to change it. The
And it's
non-physical will not.
painful. It's like
It
hard to
is.
do. Like
It
I
is.
remember years ago putting a jar up and dropping a black rock for every negative thought I had and a crystal rock for every positive one. The black rocks were up to here. The crystals were here. I was like,
Right.
man, I have to work on my mind. And so I spent
That's it.
months working on my mind. And even to this day, like a lot of times people think, oh, near death experiencers, or if you're coming out as a spiritual teacher, you have it all together. No, everyone's still working on things. It's just a shift. You're shifting into more
Correct.
positive thoughts. You're shifting into continuing to work with yourself and heal certain things and bring
Yes.
in better experiences.
Yes.
It just gets
Yes.
a little easier, like
It
the
it
more you do
does,
it.
and it does when you work on that and you see it. And that's when that happened to me, is when I healed that wound, that devastating wound that I've carried for 50 years since I was 4 years old. It's going to be 50 years ago because I'm going to be 54 in April. So think about it, as a 4-year old boy, that's 50 years I've held on to that suffering and that pain. Why? Why? That's the non-physical saying, that it happened when you were 4 years. Chop it off. Learn from. Did you? Yeah. Oh, I have. Okay. Then don't repeat it every day for. What's it doing to you? Nothing but keeping you in that lower vibration. And yes, I had this beautiful NDE. The knowledge of who I am, that of the. I still took me 4 years to heal a wound that happened 50 years ago. You have to face that pain, ladies and gentlemen. You have to. It's your salvation, it's your freedom.
So
Face it, look at it.
tell me, for those people who feel cut off from God and they say, I'm just in pain, I can't heal it. What does that healing feel like to you, when you experience God after your near death experience?
And I still feel it. And I was crying last night on the couch, just sitting here looking out and just saying I was blessed, and all of a sudden burst into tears, like I probably will now. It's a love, ladies and gentlemen, that you are woefully unprepared for. Okay. You are, if there are no words in this archaic, barbaric language that we have in this realm to accurately describe it. There's nothing. When I'm sitting here and I'm feeling home, I'm in instant tears. I'm a wreck. And I said, you should be proud. Aren't you happy that I'm sitting here crying? And they are. They're like, yes, he's getting it. He's getting it. So it's a love, everybody, that you are not prepared for in any way, shape, or form. Okay. When I was talking with Trish earlier, I said, when I was, told God, my father, which by the way, I'll freak you all out. I am God. Trish is God. You are all God. Okay. So we'll get that out there, but we'll come back to that later. So when I said, look, man, you picked the wrong person, I'm crying, you know, And he said, why not? You are my son. In a very loving, but yet fatherly, stern voice was, why not? You are my son. You are worthy. And that is when I realized the forgiveness, and I allowed myself to love, and I allowed that love to flow through me and to continue to flow through me. You are loved, ladies and gentlemen, more than you could ever possibly know. You are not alone ever in your existence in this physical realm or home. You are never alone. Your archangel is with you from the time of your inception. He's never left your side, nor will they. Your guides are with you, sitting right here or somewhere around me. They are here. I feel it. I am tingling. They're here. You are never alone, and you are loved. So when you're thinking that God does not love you because of your situation, look into that situation, embrace it. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, love it, and forgive yourself.
And this is the way I see it too. It's like if you mess up, God is like, hey, just shift a little, just be better. Like just
Right?
get back in line with knowing that you're perfect, knowing that you're loved, knowing that you are in the energy of God. It's not this deep punishment. It's just a shift back into the light, shift
Right.
darkness into the light, and into the light of knowing and truth and love. And it's almost like the bad stuff doesn't exist when you're in the light. It exists, but it's just gone. I
Right.
don't know how to
It's
put it.
not real to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's not real. So when you say shift, that's right. Just sidestep over the yellow line in the middle of the road to the right side of the road. Just shift. You're thinking of, when I wake up every morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first thing I say. I am the perfect child of God, and all is well. That means all is well. Okay. You're starting your morning from the first time before you even wake up. I am the perfect child of God, and all is well. And your day will begin with abundance, because you're right, all is well. It's your mind telling you and convincing yourself of the patterns you've had for 50 years that it's no good. Shift it, sidestep over that rut, and land on smooth ground, and remember that you are the perfect child of God, and that all is well.
And
It's
let's
beautiful.
dig a little bit more into manifestation, because there's so much out there on YouTube and in the new age community and in the spiritual community. And sometimes I hear people talking about manifesting a certain person or manifesting, like things that I'm not really so sure about. Like I think it's not so specific. I think that a lot of times if you look too deep into yourself, you're not in the flow of God. God, this is an abundant universe, but when manifestation has come easy for me, it's been out of joy, out of great joy and total faith. It's been this kind of experience of stepping into greater light and bringing in greater light, not
Mhm.
limiting it and saying I want it to happen in this way. You can say I want to feel this way, I want to experience this. But tell me some of your thoughts about manifestation from what you know.
Yeah. Is that manifestations, the things that you want, say when you, like, I'll just say it with me. I've had a very scarce life, a very unabundant life. Okay, like barely scraping by. Like, what am I going to eat today or tomorrow or this week, kind of thing. So it was, barely scraping by. So now, when I heard, or was given the fact that the universe is the genie in the bottle, you want it, it's coming. So your manifestations are powerful, your thoughts. Okay, so when I get ready to meditate in the mornings and at night, I have a mantra or a mantra that I want, and and I'll go through it. So be specific, ladies and gentlemen, with what you want. Please be specific, because if you go into a restaurant and you're hungry, right, and you sit down and you get there, and the waitress comes over and you just hand her the menu back, I'm hungry. She comes back with liver and onion. I don't want that. If you're not specific with what you want, the universe will give you something, but it might come in the size of a pea. It might come in the size of, a cup. Okay. Be specific with what you want. Okay. Say, I want a wonderful relationship with a beautiful woman. I want love, a deep, profound love where I can wake up for the next 50 years and have that love. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you focus in on that and keep that love and positivity, that woman will enter your life. When? Don't know. Could be 5 years from now, could be 2 years. It's going to come. So that manifestation will come. But again, what we talked about, it's your thoughts, it's your positivity in your thing, it's your thinking that is stopping you from getting what you want.
And
It's the
so
positivity.
And so often it's our unworthiness that prevents us. Like I remember years ago talking to this woman in her late 50s, and she said, I turned a lot of people down because I had a very clear idea of what I wanted. And she said, and she was just so in love, it was this couple of their
Mhm.
in love. And she's like, I had to wait, and it was hard to wait, like for what I wanted. But, she had that clear idea and that worth. And I think a lot of times people go, oh my gosh, someone likes me. Like, okay, let's go with that. Or they are too Pollyanna-ish and overlook a lot of things and don't see the signs that they're being treated badly. Or, there's a lot of different reasons, why people settle. But I think it's worth, that if you know your worth, you're going to apply for a better job. If you know your worth, you're going to not accept bad behavior from friends and loved ones.
And that's, I have learned now with my being an empath is that I've learned to cut a lot of things out of my life. And is it a bad thing that you cut those individuals out? No, the non-physical wants to see that because it's causing you pain. If it's causing you pain and discomfort, they don't want that in your life. It doesn't mean that you hate that person. It just means because that person is just another version of you that you're projecting into this physical realm, to step away from that and just say, okay, I choose higher energy. I choose love, which is the highest energy. I choose empathy, which is even a higher form of that, right? I choose to live in that. And if you step away from the lower energy, the darkness, and that is where you grow. That is where you really begin to grow as a, not as a, a suitcase here, but as a being, a physical, a an intelligently powerful being of love and light in a physical realm. We are now taking that experience and learning from it and learning from that love, and we continue to grow. So it's really here, everybody. It's just free your mind, change your ways of thinking because they're doing you no good. Though the non-physical isn't going to come down here and pat you on the back and say, Jace, you're stuck. Come on. No, that's not their job. That's our job. That's why we incarnated into this. So we have to do better. We have to change our ways of thinking because we've given the reins over to the church and to the ego for millennia. Well, how's that working out for everybody? It's not.
Yeah, so what do you tell people who are in that realm of leaving the church? Because people are leaving the church in droves, each generation, religion is declining, but yet we still have a need for spirituality, for community, for connection, for honoring God in some way.
Because we're all one.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Why do we want to come together as a community or people or gather together? Because we're all one. It's natural for us to want to gravitate to each other, right? But we want to gravitate to the right energy. So I mean, because people can't handle my, sometimes I'll come in, I'll clear out a whole room. They're like, they'll leave. They can't handle my energy, right? They don't like it. They can't, they'll get mad.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so it's the same thing. People now, because we're teachers, and I've had to come to that in because now there's so few of us out in the world of 8 billion people. What, maybe 10 million of us have had an NDE? You spread that around the world, but there's none of us, right? But now the world is going through an awakening, a consciousness, a shift in consciousness in 2024, possibly a little bit into 2025. 1 and 1 isn't adding up to 2 anymore, right? Because something within them is saying, it's a deepness within them. Their soul is saying, listen, listen. So they come out and they find you, they find me. And how many times somebody is watching, I'm like, oh my God, it popped up at 2 in the morning out of nowhere. Why? It was meant to. we're teachers. So we are telling everybody that is now, they look at 1 and 1. It's not 2 anymore.
Well, and I think
You
that's
know,
because collectively we're finding our worth outside of some of these systems. And
correct.
it's not going to be immediate to where systems change, but we're going to see changes the more people feel worthy of a different reality because they start looking at it and creating it. Just like we're talking about looking around and creating something different. People, as they awaken, are going to refuse to have their power taken away, to be bullied
Right.
to submission. It's just
Right. If
happen.
they're not going to, they're not going to look at the church anymore as their salvation. And why do I go into church to feel the way I'm feeling and then to come out feeling worse than when I came in? You're all unworthy. You're all going to sit in the dirt for 50,000 years, and if you're lucky, you might get risen up to back onto this earth, but in a more hellish. Come on. No, I will not stand for that. I cannot. And it's such a beautiful transition home, ladies and gentlemen. It is something, as I said earlier, you are woefully unprepared for the love that you are about to experience.
Well, and what's interesting though is it's hard to tell certain people about this love without meeting their judgment. And so I'm curious, what how did you decide not to talk to family members? I'm assuming that you don't talk to family members who continue to judge you. I mean, was that before your near-death experience, after?
I quit talking to my family very early on. I'd say I haven't spoken to my father in probably 30, 40 years. My mother, probably 10. My sister, probably around 10. And they were all grew up, my sister anyways, in Catholicism. So stepping away from them really wasn't a problem. But again, I felt when I started to deconstruct from Catholicism again, I felt guilty. In the back of my mind, Jason, the truth, but it's still the dogma that society wants. Well, what do you mean you're an atheist? Well, you're just, there's the judgment. Okay. So as I withdrew again from Catholicism, I began to feel free. I was lost in religion. And when I left, I became free because I know I know what I am. I am not a body. I am not this male body. I'm neither male or female. We are genderless. We are our father. Okay. So it took a little bit, I'd say about 6 months. And I was like, screw this, I'm done. No. And it was, but even after my NDE, I still struggled with it because I felt guilty that, society had rammed this through me for 50 years. It was very hard to finally let it go. But when I did, I was able to breathe. I know who I am. I don't have to prove anything to my father. I'm doing it now through my work, through manifestation, my videos, talking to you, helping others. That's what, helping them find their power, who they are, that the church wants you to not find.
So
you
many,
know
yeah, so many times I have wanted people to feel more loved, especially people who buy into some things that are said in churches that, you burn in hell for suicide, drug overdoses, being, like gay or experiment, like all these things. I was like, pretty much all of those I did before I did
right. I
and
was like,
I was welcomed into heaven, like
I
and
was
welcomed with great love,
right.
it was all of those judgments are human judgments, and I saw them throughout society. Different people judging students for concert t-shirts or for perhaps doing drugs or all of these various things that people judge one another for. And I thought, that's not how you help someone heal. That's not what God does. God doesn't judge you. God shifts you, again, that shift into, how do you want to treat your body? I love you so deeply. Don't you want to treat your body with absolute love and honor? well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Like, you just,
Never thought of it that way. It's like, and part of my mantra is when I'm saying, it's like, you are a beautiful boy. I said, I do love you. I love my body. I am deeply sorry that I neglected you and I did drugs and I did, I drank alcohol. Please. And I'm telling my body to forgive me for mistreating it. And so people don't understand the depth of love that is required, for us to fully become one. And that is to love your body immensely. Is it sacred? Not so much, but you want to take care of it, right? Because that's how we get around down here. We can't get around down here without our vehicles. Our vehicles are our bodies. That's it. Like you get in a car to go to your store. Are you your car? No, we're not our bodies, but we should maintain them, take care of them, eat healthy, drink water. We're not supposed to drink sodas and crap because our bodies function on water. So drink water. All these things came to me of, how we need to be to function at our best away from home.
yeah. And what's interesting, I have a good friend on the other side who died when he was 36. And he took pretty good care of himself, but he always knew he was going to die early. And he died of something that he shouldn't have had. He wasn't a smoker, but he was around smoke as a child. And he died of throat cancer at 36. And I hear him on the other side saying, you know what? I'm so glad I loved everyone fully and I gave away all my love. He was a true empath and a true healer. And he lived with that dial up all the way to 100. I'm not sure if he had a near death experience or not, but he was just one of those souls that came in 100% dialed up with love, this connection to the other side. He was this type of person who had lunch with Jesus, and then
Right.
the next day it was Raphael, and and Gabriel, and saw ghosts all the time and knew so much. But his interaction with each person was deeply loving, and I learned so much from that. And he told me from the other side, it's okay for some of us to burn brightly like that and to leave early. He said it's okay, it's totally
It's,
fine, and
it is.
it's all right.
Because it is. Because, when we choose our lives and we choose what we're born into, like I was born into America. Why? Because that's where I needed to pick up with where I left off. My soul wants to learn these things. So that was the best opportunity for me to grow into the things that I need to work on. And, I do want to say something that people, misunderstand. I said it in one of my videos, is that, when you see a new being come into this world, you see it as a new baby, right? Oh, here's a baby, no, okay. The body or the vehicle that being is in is new, but by no means is that being innocent. Okay, they came here with full intentions to do something and they are going to do it. The body that they chose is new. What is inside driving it is not, and it is not innocent. It is going to pick up where it left off. So when you look at your children, love them, give them that knowledge, give them everything, but in the same aspect, do not pamper them, do not hamper them. Let them be free, let them express who they are. Love, and your sexual energy is one of them. We can talk about that in a minute. It's something that was given to us to find our way back home. It is perfectly natural and beautiful and loving. Do not crush your children or a young adult by sabotaging them or blaming them or saying, well, that's not good. They came here with a specific purpose. They chose you because you are the greatest benefit to them accomplishing their mission here. Please don't hamper them like I was as a child, as an empath. It cripples them. It will cripple them. The body is new. What is inside is not. Remember that.
I, I
Remember
have
that.
I have to say, like a year after my near death experience, I went to the hospital to see a friend who had broken her back playing tennis, of all things. But I went off at the wrong floor. I got off, and it was the NICU, and there were these posters of little babies that covered the whole wall, like massive. And I was looking into their eyes. I was like, "You're millions of years old. You just came from the light." And like
Right.
I was just looking in the eyes, and I felt more in common with those babies than most of the adults. I realized I was just a year old.
Right, because you can feel you can feel the innocence and the love that all babies have, right? Because they're still connected to home, so they love it doesn't matter who picks them up. You pick them up, and they love, you know, everybody watch children. When they're super tired, what do? They're jumping. Would you cut it out? No, because next thing you know, they know what they need to do to fix themselves. They're in tune with home. It's only through the judgment and beating of society and through the religious you can't do this, you can't touch it. You hear so much of no that you begin to do this and then crumple up inside. And then what do you begin to do? Hate, judge, all the things we're not supposed to. And then we become so lost that.
And I have to say, and I want to ask you this question, but I want to share something first. So I've talked to maybe thousands of women, but definitely hundreds of women who've either had miscarriages or abortions at this point. And, everyone who is sensitive feels a loss or a connection. Sometimes they continue with that soul in the afterlife. Sometimes they're given much love from that miscarriage or abortion on the other side. Just, just things like, I wish you were ready. But since you're not, I'm just going to love you. It's perfectly fine that I'm over here. Or, in many cases, I was just meant to touch down for a moment and remind you of your own innocence, that, I was here just for a short while, or I'm going to support you in spirit. It's always love on the other side. It's not that condemnation of like, "Oh, guess what? You're burning in hell now for what you did." Like, that's not what I hear, as a medium, and that's not what I hear from other sensitive women. And I wish that that conversation was more common, but I'm curious what you think of that, or if you have any experiences to share.
I lost my son. He was miscarried at 4 months old, and my ex-wife, we were going back home, and she's like, "You need to pull over. You need to pull over." And I found a McDonald's, and she gave birth to my son in a stall, a McDonald's stall, bathroom stall. And she came out and she handed me my son. If I get emotional, I'm sorry. So his little head was right here, and his little feet maybe came down to like my wrist right here. So his, his little penis and his little finger, such tiny little fingers and toes. And he was a perfect little, you know. Now, mind you, I didn't have my NDE. So this is about 15 years ago. And if you thought I was angry then, so I'm sitting there holding my dead son in my hand, and the rage that went through me, I cursed God to hell. I said, "I hope you burn in hell. Clearly, you truly hate me. You truly hate me. You won't even let me have my son. I hope you rot in hell." I just ripped him and, ended up burying my son, and what does life do? Does life stop? No, it just keeps coming, keeps throwing the shit in your face. And, I hadn't learned anything yet because I was still caught up in my own pain and grief. So 15 years later is like 2021. I had done an interview with Jeff Mara, and this is beautiful. So she said, I watched your interview, and, I'm a medium, and people tell me I'm going to burn in hell because, spirits talk to me. We're all mediums. We just have to open up our energy to it. So, and I'm getting there, but, she said, I said, no, I said, there is no hell. No, hell does not exist. There is no sin. Sin does not exist. Your sexual appetite is perfectly fine. But she's like, there are people here. And I'm like, she goes, "There's somebody on a porch knitting." I said, "Grammy?" And she's like, "Yeah, your grandma, she wants you to know how proud of you, of the man that you have become." And I was like, how would she know to say knitting? Because my grandmother was a knitter. She made blankets, and, so that was thoroughly my grandmother. There's somebody here in a military uniform. Grandpa? My grandpa fought in World War II. So, and, you know, I was feeling this love, and he says, did you have an uncle or I pass away and an uncle? And I said, no, he's still alive. And I'm getting this, somebody's here. And it's like, I was young. It's like, did you wear a beanie all the time? I said, a skull cap? Yeah. I said, are you, he said, yeah. I said, Connor, my son. And he's like, yes, he's 15 now. I said, he would be about 14, 15 now. Yeah. And he has a message for you. And his message was, Dad, I was never meant to be born. My mission was simply to bring you back to God. He said, I was never meant to be born. It answered, it answered so much because I was ready to accept the truth of he simply wanted to bring me back home to God, to have a relationship with Father. That was his only mission. He was never meant to be here. He said, Dad, it didn't work. He says, I love you. And he says, one more thing. You and Mom are getting back together. I said, well, you better tell Mom that because she's got other plans. And he says, I love you, Dad. And that was it. And he told me he was never meant to be born. So no matter how hard she tried or how healthy she ate or whatever, she was still going to lose our son. Why? It wasn't meant to be. So, you know, so there's your answer. You know, sometimes things, and there was a lesson in it, right? What was the lesson? The lesson was to come back home. There's your salvation, right? So he was giving me all of these lessons that I wasn't ready to understand or learn. But 15 years later, I understand exactly what he did, you know, and is he still my son, even though I never had a physical, of course, you know, and am I going to see him again? Absolutely. He's waiting, you know,
And
so.
and love is always a lesson. That's what I keep reminding people. So, if and I try to remind religious people of this too. I've been brutally like abused and lied about and talked about by people who are pro-life, when my only message is like, you want fewer abortions on this planet, be kinder to women, like have have better healthcare systems, have more support for people who are abused and stalked and raped, and start collapsing horrible things in society and making women safer. And lots of women will choose to not have abortions and to bring children into this world. But you're not going to do it through hate. You're just not going to do it through hating people. That you're going to change things, all things in society, through love, through really helping people heal, helping people feel worthy of a great life. And on that note, I want you to say just a few more things to the audience for those who don't feel worthy of abundance, love, joy, the life that they want here on
Yeah,
Earth.
sure.
And then I'm going to do a healing for the audience and you.
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I get emotional because I feel home when I talk about certain things. I want you to know, first and foremost, how powerful you are. You are not a human being. You have never been human, and nor will you ever be. What we are doing here is seeding the human species and advancing the species. Okay. That's it. That's what we're here for. We're here to find our power, believe it or not. Jesus came here 2,000 years ago, 2 millennia ago, to start this. He never got a chance to finish it. And I'm going to pick up where he left off. And that is how powerful we are. We are an incredibly powerful, divine, creative being made of love, light, and energy, who our Father is, God, Source, all that is. And that you are loved, okay? You are loved no matter what you are going through. These things that you are going through, no matter how harsh, brutal, whatever, you are not going through them alone, okay? Father is right there with you. Your guides are right there with you. And these things that you're going through are things that you wanted to experience here in this physical realm. They're roadblocks, right? Speed bumps. That's all they are. Don't hang on to that experience. Don't label it. Don't look at it as right or wrong or good or bad. Look at it, learn from it, and cut it off and grow and look at it. Your pain and your suffering is your salvation, everybody. Embrace it, love it, and then let it go because you are loved and you are all unprepared, woefully unprepared for the love that you are about to experience when you transition because death does not exist. Okay. It does not. Trish Count talked about the Matrix. This is nothing more than a dream. Everything that you see in your world, you are dreaming it right now. Okay. It's all a dream. None of it is real. None of this is real except love. Love will fix everything. It will fix everything. And that is what you are created out of, love. You are love. And I love you more than anything. And I want you to have an abundant, beautiful dream. Remember who you are. I'm a beautiful child of God, and all is well. I love you all so very much. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, and Jason, thank you for that message of love. And I want you to put your hand on your heart and give yourself love and compassion and close your eyes. And you might think about that 4-year-old boy from 4 until now and just stay. And we'll just center that unconditional love of God. We're already there in that energy and see all of that unconditional love of God raining down towards you, towards the top of your head. Your crown opens up and receives all that love. It's immediately healing to the brain, the hippocampus, the amygdala, collapsing stress, allowing you to breathe deeper, supporting your intuition, removing blocks at the throat level and heart level, healing wounds at the heart level, and really empowering you at the physical level. So just see this unconditional love moving through every cell and all the spaces surrounding every cell in your body, supporting you in what you want to create in your connection to the earth, and really connecting you at the earth level. See this loving energy run through your body, through your feet, into Mother Earth, knowing that you are supported by Mother Earth and by God's unconditional love, Creator's unconditional love. And for anyone here who struggles with worth and worthiness, if anyone holds an ancestral program of I am worthy of love, no. I am worthy of abundance, no. I command that these 2 programs at the ancestral level be removed and deleted. And Jason and everyone listening, and that we all send so much healing to our ancestors on the other side, asking them to cheer us on and to witness what their lives would have been like had they lived feeling worthy, and heal every part of our lives where we did not feel worthy, and give us a new program moving forward of I am worthy of love from many sources, many directions, while embodied. I'm worthy of love from the other side. I'm worthy of love in human form. I'm worthy of an abundance of love. I'm worthy of an abundance of wealth, time, freedom, joy, happiness.
Beautiful.
Done. It's done.
Beautiful.
And at a soul level, Creator, in all lifetimes, dimensions, cultures, languages, if there's a program of I am worthy, no, all the lifetimes where we have been tortured, murdered, died in battle, enslaved, told we are unworthy, toiled and died early, just send healing to every life and remove the program of I am worthy, no, I'm worthy of love, no, I'm worthy of abundance, no. delete this, replace this with I am worthy. Yes, at a soul level. And all time is one time. So as we heal those other lifetimes, our future changes. It's done, it's done, it's done. And at a core level, all that culture tells us about aging, all that culture tells us about money, all that culture tells us about gender roles, all that culture tells us about worthiness. I command that you remove programs supporting I am worthy. No, I must buy this, do this in order to be worthy. Yes, don't buy into it, creator of all that is. I command that you remove all programs of lack and all programs of worth connected to materialism. Changing this to I am worthy of the abundance that I want and need. I'm worthy of love exactly as I am in all ways. I'm worthy of healing and joy.
Amen. Beautiful.
And collapsing in everyone's timeline, trauma, and moving forward with light. It's done, it's done, it's done.
That was beautiful. Well said. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I felt my energy there. It was going woof, and I'm like, I am worthy. And all of a sudden, I just went woof, and I'm like, I am worthy. And it was such when that thing happened over here this week. That moment, that was me healing that wound and that childhood and trauma, and raising into a new level of in this physical realm. I mean, I literally they shut down the level that I was in, and whoop, up I went, and feeling lightheaded, and I was like, I just rose in
Yay.
vibration, and I was like, it's just like it's so beautiful, and I want everybody to reach that. I want everybody to know what you and I feel, and it's part of why I'm here. I will not stop. I know that I was meant to be a teacher, and it's, what I'm going to do. I will not stop. I will not. So
Oh, well, thank you, Jason, for all that you do. And thanks for this conversation. It's been awesome.
it has been. Thank you for having me here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.